Welcome to Kansas DOT's Mastering Open Roads Designer Training Series, Survey Data Import topic. This is video number 8. We've imported our survey data. Now we're going to prepare it for export to the 2D topography file. As we mentioned earlier in training, these data files, the survey data, has more in it than what we typically want to see in a 2D topo file. So we're going to use the Explorer tab to start filtering through this data. And I know already that break line features do not belong in the topo file, so I'm going to turn BKL off for points. You can see how that affects the point locators. And I'm also going to turn that off for linear features. And note that when I'm turning these off, I'm doing it under the all point features and all linear features categories in the Explorer. If I have one of these data files expanded, we could easily be doing it there, but that's not going to catch all the survey data, obviously. So let's look at some of the other stuff that doesn't belong. I know that these generic point locators, as a general rule, aren't in a topo file. These are a field code CP. Those do not belong. So we uncheck them in Prospector. This is not deleting the data. It's just, oops, not the section corners. We're just taking off the display or the display state of these features. So let's see what else we want to turn off. Now I'm going to go ahead and speed up the video and you can follow along at fast speed. Okay, I have it set up for 2D topo export, but before I do, I just want to explain some of the thinking that went through in turning off some of these element features. So I'm going to bring up the code sheet for KDOT survey, and you see some of these codes, like billboard, for example. These are two-shot codes, right? It's a single feature, but we're taking two shots, and it helps us usually represent the orientation, the direction of it, or possibly the size of it. You see it with signs, you see it with these message boards here. There's other ones too, ditch plug. Throughout we could keep going. There's some bushes, and evergreen shrub are also two-shot codes. There we're shooting the center, and then the second shot gives us the radius value of, the rough shape of that bush. So these two-shot codes, these are going to require some fix-up in the 2D topo file later. So we'll take a look out for those. The example that we're going to use to look at that is we have two billboard shots, and you can see that it created two billboard cells as a result, and we'll show how to fix that up so it displays correctly in the topo file. Another type of manipulation we're going to be looking at is the sign codes. There, it's creating a linear feature between the two shots, and typically for the sign D, we can just turn those off, the point locators off, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. However, signs work the same way. Right now we only have the two-post line style working. We're going to clean that up with a future workspace release. But there's a special case with these single post signs as well. They're not always a two-shot code, at least not with the example data that we received here that we're working with here. So you can see we have a single shot code on this feature. A single shot on the sign code on this feature, even though ordinarily we would be looking for two shots. And the reason for that is it was such a small sign that there was hardly any width to it. It's a delineator, actually. You can see that. So we're looking at JP 1294. It came in on the data file that had a suffix of JP. So if we go find that point, let's go to the JP data file. We could have found it in the all features too. And we'll look at the sign, and let's check the details on that feature. And it was 1294. So find point 1294, which is right here. See, we have the correct one, and you can see, yeah, there is no link code there. And if we actually looked at it in the file, You can see on 1294 that it's a delineator. So it makes sense that it only had one shot. It was such a narrow sign. So we're going to have to treat those a little bit differently. And because of that, we're going to keep all the sign features on as well. Now, if you look at the code sheet once again, the rest of the point features, the ones that are not intended to create linear features, we've turned all of those off. And so we left the features on for, like, edge of shoulder, for example, would be a code that was intended to only collect a linear feature, or roadway public, RDPB. We turned up generic point locators for those codes off, but we kept the features on. Obviously, the types of codes that were intended to display a specific cell, like tree, we left the display of those on. Please continue with us to video number 9, where we're going to go through the export process, creating that 2D topo file.